Have you ever stopped to wonder who really holds the purse strings in the Philippines? Well, today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the country's financial system and count down the top 10 most powerful banks. All right, let's get into it. Right? It's a massive question. And the answer, it turns out, lies with just a handful of financial giants. To figure out who's who in this exclusive club, we're just going to follow the money and see which institutions really hold the most power. So how exactly are we measuring all this power? Well, our yardstick is a pretty simple but incredibly powerful one: total assets. Basically, this is the grand total of everything a bank owns. We're talking cash, investments, all the loans it's given out, property, the whole shebang. The more assets, the bigger the bank. It's as simple as that.
Okay, let's kick off our countdown at the number 10 spot. Just breaking into this top tier is a major achievement, and this bank has absolutely earned its place here.
So kicking us off, we have Union Bank of the Philippines coming in at number 10 with just over 1 trillion pesos in assets. And yeah, you heard that right, trillion. But what's really interesting here is the known for column. Union Bank is without a doubt the country's digital banking pioneer. Their constant innovation is literally changing how millions of Filipinos think about and manage their money. So, from a digital innovator, let's move up one spot to a national builder. This next institution plays a really different, but you could argue just as crucial, role in the country's economy. At number 9, it's the Development Bank of the Philippines, or DBP, with 1.038 trillion pesos in assets. And just like its name suggests, this is the go-to government bank that funds the big stuff, the roads, the bridges, the power plants that are quite literally building the nation's future.
All right, next up, at number 8, we have a true household name. A bank that's been a part of the Philippines story for generations.
And that is the Philippine National Bank, PNB, holding almost 1.3 trillion pesos in assets. This is such a great illustration of the power of legacy. As one of the country's oldest banks, PNB has built this incredible reputation for trust and stability that just keeps attracting customers year after year. Okay, let's keep it moving to number 7. Now, this bank has carved out a really powerful niche for itself by focusing on a very specific and very high-value part of the market. That bank is Security Bank, with over 1.4 trillion pesos in assets. So what's their secret sauce? A laser focus on corporate banking. By becoming the go-to financial partner for so many of the country's biggest businesses, they're playing a direct role in fueling the engines of the entire economy.
Climb it on up to number 6 now. We find a bank that's making some major strategic moves to really expand its slice of the pie.
And here we have RCBC, crossing that 1.5 trillion peso mark. RCBC is a fantastic example of a bank that is just on the move. They are pouring resources into expanding their reach to everyday customers while also making huge bets on digital platforms. It's a really powerful two-pronged strategy. And just like that, we've officially reached the halfway point. Let me tell you, cracking the top 5 is a huge deal, and this next bank has shown some seriously impressive growth to get here.
Coming in hot at number 5 is China Banking Corporation, with assets pushing 1.8 trillion pesos. So what's driving their growth? A growing dominance in the business world, especially when it comes to lending to commercial clients and, this is so important, to small and medium-sized enterprises. The backbone of the Philippine economy.
All right. Buckle up, because this is where things get really serious. At number 4, we see a massive jump in asset size. This bank is in a completely different league compared to the ones we've just seen. Welcome to the 3 trillion peso club. Metrobank just storms into the number 4 spot with assets of nearly 3.2 trillion pesos. I mean, this isn't just a bank. It's a financial services powerhouse, a true titan of the industry. And you know what? That incredible leap into the trillions, that was just the warm-up. The top 3 banks we're about to see, they operate on an entirely different scale. These are the undisputed giants, the trillion peso titans that just tower over the rest of the landscape. What's so fascinating is the absolute battle for the top spots. Securing number 2 is Land Bank, the government's main development arm for the agricultural sector, with a massive 3.4 trillion in assets. But look how close this is. Right on its heels at number 3 is BPI, one of the oldest banks in all of Southeast Asia. Famous for its innovation and huge network, with nearly 3.3 trillion. It's incredible.
two giants, two very different missions, and they're practically neck and neck in size. But while second and third place is a nail-biter, there is absolutely no contest for the top spot. One bank stands completely alone, way ahead of the competition. And here it is, at number 1 with a staggering, and I mean staggering, 4.693 trillion pesos in assets is BDO Unibank. BDO isn't just leading the market, they are completely and utterly dominating it. I mean, just look at this chart for a second. This visual tells the whole story. Look at that gap between BDO and everyone else. It's not just a lead, it's a chasm. It holds over 1 trillion pesos more in assets than its closest competitor. That is what market dominance looks like. So after all that, what's the big picture takeaway? Well, a few things really stand out. First, it's clear the market is heavily concentrated, right? The top 3 banks control a massive chunk of all the assets. Second, government banks like Land Bank and DBP play this huge, vital role in national development, everything from farming to infrastructure. And finally, innovation is a powerful force, with these digital-first players really shaking things up.
And that really brings us to our final thought. In a landscape so completely dominated by a few titans, where is the next real challenge going to come from? Will it be one of the fast-growing mid-tier banks we saw? A digital innovator we haven't even heard of yet? Or something else entirely? Well, that is the multi-trillion peso question for the future of Philippine banking.